When I first met her, she wasn't even a real person to me, just a username floating in the endless sea of people on the internet. Her screen name was Lanaski22. I didn't know her real name, or where she lived, or even what she looked like beyond the profile picture she'd chosen, a blurry shot of a girl in a hoodie, sitting under a starry sky. It was sophomore year of high school, and I was going through one of the loneliest periods of my life. My parents were fighting almost every night, my older brother had left for college, and my so-called friends had started drifting away, choosing weekend parties over quiet movie nights at my house. I didn't blame them, at least, not at first, but it still hurt in a way I couldn't put into words. I found Luna in a late-night online art community. It was this small forum where people shared drawings, poems, photography, basically anything creative. I had been posting my little sketches there for months, barely getting any attention, until one night she left a comment under one of my posts. "You have such a soft, beautiful style. Like you're painting the way feelings look." No one had ever said anything like that to me before, not in real life, and definitely not online. From that night on, we started talking. At first, it was just comments under posts, then direct messages, then long, unfiltered conversations that stretched past midnight. We talked about everything: school stress, music we loved, our weird dreams, our fears about the future. She told me she lived somewhere in the Midwest, was 17 like me, and wanted to study creative writing. She always avoided specifics: no last name, no hometown, but it didn't feel suspicious then. I figured she was just careful about online safety. Over the months, she became my safe place. When my parents' voices rose from the kitchen, I'd slip on my headphones and open our chat window. When I felt like I didn't belong anywhere at school, I knew I belonged in our little bubble. We even had our own private jokes and nicknames. She called me Sunbeam because she said my art felt warm and alive, and I called her Moonlight because she always seemed calm and gentle, even when her own life was chaotic. It's strange to say, but I started to feel closer to her than to anyone in my real life. She remembered every detail I told her: my favorite ice cream flavor, the way I hated math class, how my hands shook before a presentation. She even noticed when my tone changed in our messages, asking if I was okay without me having to say anything. And she opened up too. She told me about her struggles with anxiety, how she had trouble making friends in person, how she felt trapped in her small town where everyone knew each other's business. There was a comfort in knowing we were both outsiders in our own worlds, connected by the fact that we didn't quite fit. By junior year, we were talking every day. If a day passed without hearing from her, I felt this aching emptiness. She was the first person I told when I got an A on my art project, and the first person I messaged when my parents threatened to separate. She was there for everything, like a constant thread running through the fabric of my teenage years. Then one evening, out of nowhere, she asked, "Have you ever thought about meeting in real life?" My heart leapt. The idea had crossed my mind before, of course, but I never dared to bring it up. Meeting an online friend in person felt like one of those things people in cautionary tales regretted. Still, I trusted her more than I trusted anyone else. We started planning slowly, testing the waters. She said she might be able to visit a city near me over the summer because her aunt lived there. It felt almost too good to be true. I imagined what it would be like, the two of us finally sitting in a cafe, laughing without a keyboard between us. But there was one thing that always lingered in the back of my mind. I didn't actually know her. I didn't know her real name, or what she looked like without that hoodie in the photo. She always said she was camera shy and preferred to keep her image private. I respected that, but part of me wanted to see her face to confirm that she was real. So one night, I asked, "Do you think you could send me a picture? Just so when we meet, I'll recognize you right away?" She hesitated. The typing bubble appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, she replied, "I promise, you'll know me when you see me. Let's keep it special for the day we meet, okay?" I told myself it was sweet, romantic even, in a platonic way, like keeping a mystery alive until the big reveal. But a small, quiet voice in my head whispered that it was strange. Still, I ignored it. After all, she'd been nothing but kind to me for almost 2 years. Why would she lie? The summer finally came, and so did the day we'd agreed to meet. We picked a small coffee shop downtown, neutral territory, public and safe. I got there early, heart pounding in my chest, my hands sweaty as I sat by the window. I kept picturing her walking in, tall maybe, with long hair spilling from under her hoodie, her shy smile lighting up when she spotted me. I imagined hugging her, finally hearing her voice in person, and knowing that this friendship we'd built online was even more real than I dreamed. But when the door opened, and I saw the person who stepped inside, every single image I created in my mind shattered instantly. Because it wasn't Lanaski 22. It wasn't a girl my age at all. It was a woman, at least in her late 20s, dressed casually in jeans and a cardigan, her eyes darting around the cafe before locking onto mine with a strange intensity. And in that moment, my world tilted sideways. For a split second, I thought maybe she'd gotten the wrong table, that she was here to meet someone else. I even started to glance over my shoulder, expecting her to walk past me. But then she smiled, a smile that wasn't quite warm, but wasn't hostile either, and walked straight toward me. "Sunbeam?" she asked softly. My stomach twisted. Only Luna called me that. I stared at her, searching for some mistake, some rational explanation that would make this feel less surreal. Yeah, I said hesitantly. "And you're Luna?" She nodded, sliding into the chair across from me like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Technically, it's Claire," she said. "But, yeah, I'm Lanaski 22. Claire." The name felt wrong in my mouth, like trying to say a word in a language I didn't know. My brain scrambled to connect the girl from my messages, the one who said she was 17, shy, and living in some small Midwest town, with the grown woman in front of me. She must have seen my confusion because she sighed and leaned forward. "I know I don't look like what you were expecting. And, yeah, I wasn't exactly honest about some things." I felt the sting of betrayal start to settle in my chest, but I couldn't even speak. I just stared at her, waiting. "I didn't think you'd talk to me if you knew my real age," she said. "I'm 29. And well, I made up a lot about my life. The town, my school, it was all just a version of me I thought you'd like." Her words hit me like bricks. "You've been lying to me. For years?" She flinched, as if I'd slapped her. "I wasn't lying to hurt you," she said quickly. I wanted to be someone you could relate to. Someone who could understand you." My throat felt tight. I thought of every midnight conversation we'd had, every vulnerable piece of myself I'd handed over to her. "You were my best friend," I said, my voice breaking. "I told you things I've never told anyone. I trusted you." Her eyes dropped to the table. "And I cared about you more than anyone else ever has," she murmured. That part was real. Every word I said about how much you meant to me, that was the truth. I shook my head, trying to make sense of it all. "But you pretended to be my age. You made me believe we were going through the same things." "I was going through some of those things," she said defensively. "I know it sounds crazy, but you helped me through a really dark time. I was lonely. I didn't have anyone else. You made me feel like I mattered." I wanted to scream, to ask her why she couldn't have just been honest from the start. But underneath the anger was this sharp edge of fear. If she'd lied about her age and her life, what else had she lied about? I asked her the question that had been gnawing at me since she walked in. "So the pictures. The girl in the hoodie, who is that?" She hesitated, her hands twisting in her lap. "That's a stock photo I found online. I didn't think you'd want to talk to me if you saw what I really looked like." Something cold slid through me. That picture had been her in my mind. I'd drawn sketches based on it, imagined her in that hoodie looking up at the stars. And now it wasn't even her. I felt sick. "You realize how messed up this is, right?" I said, my voice sharper now. "You made me believe in a person who didn't even exist." Her face crumpled. "I exist," she said quietly. Maybe not the version you thought I was, but I'm still me. I stared at her, my thoughts a tangled mess. Part of me wanted to get up and leave, to cut her out of my life completely. Another part, the part that remembered all the nights she'd stayed up with me when I was crying, didn't know how to let go that easily. The barista came over with my latte, setting it down between us. I barely noticed. My hands were trembling as I wrapped them around the cup, needing something to ground me. Why now? I asked finally. Why tell me the truth now, after all this time? She sighed, looking out the window as if the answer might be hiding in the street beyond. Because you're about to go to college, she said. And I didn't want to keep lying to you. I thought, maybe if you knew who I really was, we could still be friends. Real friends. I let out a bitter laugh. Real friends? Claire, you've been pretending to be a teenager for 2 years. This isn't friendship. I don't even know what this is. Her eyes filled with tears, and for a moment, I saw something vulnerable in her. Something that almost reminded me of the Luna I'd known online. I know I ruined everything, she whispered. But please, don't think I didn't care about you. You're the most important person I've ever met. I didn't know what to say to that. I didn't know if I believed her anymore. The conversation fizzled after that. I mumbled something about needing to go, grabbed my bag, and walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. My legs felt like they were moving on autopilot, my mind still spinning. The summer sun was blinding as I stepped outside, and for the first time in years, I felt utterly alone. I didn't know it then, but that meeting was only the beginning. The truth about who Claire really was, and why she'd chosen me, was far darker than I could have imagined. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face across the cafe table, the way she'd said sunbeam like it still belonged to her, like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I kept scrolling through our old messages, reading them like they were evidence in a case I was building against her. Every me too when I'd said I was stressed about finals. Every, I know exactly how you feel. When I talked about my parents fighting, it all looked different now. Hollow. Performed. Around 2 a.m., I finally texted her. Not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't stand not knowing more. Me? Why me? Out of everyone online, why did you pick me? She didn't answer right away. I stared at my phone until the words blurred, then finally set it on my nightstand. My eyelids were heavy when the vibration came, and her reply lit up the screen. Claire. Because you reminded me of someone I lost. That was all she wrote. No explanation. No name. Just that. I didn't respond. I didn't want to play her game anymore. But the words sank into my mind like an ink stain I couldn't wash out. Someone she lost. Who? The next few days, I avoided her. I muted her notifications, turned off the little green active dot on my profile. But Claire didn't give up. She sent long paragraphs about how much she missed talking to me, how she wished we could go back to the way it was. I almost deleted her number more than once. But something, curiosity, maybe, kept me from doing it. I wanted answers before I erased her completely. Then, about a week after the cafe, I got an envelope in the mail with no return address. Inside was a printed photograph, faded like it had been taken years ago. It showed a teenage girl sitting on a porch, barefoot, a sketchbook in her lap. She had my hair color. My same awkward smile. On the back, in neat handwriting, it said, her name was Emily. No explanation. No note. Nothing. I didn't need to be told who had sent it. The moment I saw the handwriting, I knew it was Claire. That night, I broke my silence. Me. Who is Emily? Claire. She was my little sister. Me. What happened to her? Claire. She died. I stared at those two words, feeling my stomach twist. I wanted to put my phone down, to stop asking questions. But I didn't. Me. How? Claire. Car accident. 12 years ago. I lay back on my bed, trying to process it. A car accident. A sister she'd lost before I even existed in her life. It was tragic, sure. But why bring me into it? Me. And I remind you of her? Claire, you don't just remind me of her. You're exactly like her. My heart skipped. Exactly like her? That wasn't just a coincidence. Me. So you pretended to be my age because… What? You wanted to replace her? The typing bubble appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Claire, I wanted a second chance. Her words made my skin crawl. I imagined her reading my messages, not as me, but as this Emily girl she'd lost. I imagined her twisting every conversation into something it wasn't, seeing her sister in my every word. That was when I realized this wasn't just about lying. This was about obsession. The next day, I went to the library to distract myself, but I couldn't focus on anything. Every creak of the floor made me think she was behind me. Every time my phone buzzed, I felt my chest tighten. And then, because I was a mix of reckless and desperate, I did something I probably shouldn't have. I searched her name. It took a while, but I found her, Claire Anderson, 29, from a small town 2 states over. And buried in the archives of a local newspaper, I found the article. Local teen dies in tragic collision. 17-year-old Emily Anderson killed in an early morning car accident. Survived by her older sister Claire Anderson, then 17, and her parents. I sat there staring at the pixelated black and white photo of a girl who could have been my cousin. The resemblance was eerie. Same eyes. Same chin. Even the way she held her sketchbook in the photo matched the way I held mine. My skin prickled. When I got home, I found another message waiting for me. Claire, can we talk? In person. Please. Every instinct told me to block her. But I needed to hear her say it. Why she'd chosen me, why she'd lied for so long, why she thought this was okay. So I told her to meet me at the park near my house the next afternoon. Public, open, safe. When I saw her walking up the path, she looked smaller somehow. Not physically, she was the same person I'd seen at the cafe, but like she was carrying the weight of something heavy. I didn't mean to scare you, she said, sitting on the bench beside me. I saw your profile picture that day on the forum, and it was like seeing Emily again. I couldn't stop myself from messaging you. You could have told me the truth, I said. I thought about it, she admitted. But if I did, you would have pulled away. And I couldn't lose you. Not after losing her. Her voice cracked on that last word, and for a moment, I saw her grief, raw, unfiltered. But it didn't erase the fact that she'd built a friendship on lies. Claire, you can't just use people to fill a hole in your life, I said. She looked at me, her eyes glassy. You don't understand. I wasn't just replacing her. I was keeping her alive. Every time you sent me a picture of your drawings, every time you laughed at one of my dumb jokes, it felt like Emily was still here. I shook my head. That's not fair to me. I'm not Emily. Her expression shifted. Something darker flickered there. I know, she said quietly. But sometimes, I wish you were. The way she said it made my stomach drop. I left soon after, saying I had to get home. But as I walked away, I could feel her eyes on my back. Something told me this wasn't over. After that meeting in the park, I tried to put distance between us. I didn't block her, at least not yet, but I stopped replying. Days went by without a word from me, but the messages kept coming. At first, they were polite check-ins. Hope you're okay. I saw this art challenge online and thought of you. Then they became heavier. I don't know what I'd do if you stopped talking to me. Losing you would be like losing her all over again. The guilt crept in, and I hated it. I knew I had every right to walk away, but part of me still felt responsible for her feelings. Maybe it was because I'd once considered her my best friend. Maybe it was because I knew what loneliness felt like, and I didn't want to be the cause of someone else's. But my silence didn't make her disappear, it made her escalate. One Saturday morning, I walked into the kitchen to find a small brown box sitting on the counter. No postage, no name, just left there, like someone had dropped it off. My mom said she'd found it on the porch. Inside were three things: a sketchbook, the exact same brand and style I used, a silver necklace with a tiny crescent moon charm, a folded note that read, "For my sunbeam, so you'll always remember me." I felt the blood drain from my face. Claire didn't have my home address. I had never given it to her. That meant she'd gone out of her way to find it. I didn't tell my parents the full truth. They already thought I spent too much time online, and I didn't want them taking my phone away. I just mumbled something about a friend from art class and shoved the box into my closet. But my mind wouldn't stop racing. How long had she known where I lived? How close had she been without me knowing? The next week, I started noticing strange little things. My Instagram story views always had her name at the top, no matter how quickly I posted. She liked every single picture within seconds, sometimes commenting things that felt possessive. Then one night, I got a DM from an account I didn't recognize. No profile picture, no posts. Just a single message. "She's not who you think she is." I froze. "Who's not who I think she is?" I replied. The typing bubble appeared, then vanished. After a minute, another message came through. "Claire, she's been doing this for years. You're not the first." My stomach turned. Before I could ask more, the account went private, and the messages disappeared deleted. I sat there staring at my phone, feeling like the walls around me had shifted. The next day, I confronted her. "Me, how did you get my address?" "Claire, I just wanted to send you something nice." "Me, that's not an answer." "Claire, you left it in the background of one of your photos months ago." I recognized the street sign. I scrolled back through my posts, and sure enough, in a picture of my dog on the front lawn, you could see the edge of a street sign if you zoomed in far enough. I wanted to scream at her for crossing that line. But before I could type another word, she sent something that stopped me cold. "Claire, I'm sorry if I scared you. I can't lose you." Not like I lost her. That same phrase again. Like losing Emily. Like I was some stand-in for a ghost she couldn't let go of. That night, I dreamed of the photograph she'd sent me, but Emily's face kept shifting into mine. And in the dream, Claire was behind us, holding our shoulders in place, smiling like she'd fixed something broken. By mid-July, my patience and my nerves were unraveling. I started keeping my blinds closed and my phone on silent at night. I told myself she wouldn't actually show up again, but my gut said otherwise. And then, one humid evening, as I was sitting at my desk sketching, I heard it, 3 soft knocks at my bedroom window. I froze. My room was on the ground floor, facing the side yard. I turned my head slowly, heart pounding so hard it hurt. She was standing there. Claire. Not waving. Not smiling. Just watching me through the glass. I shot to my feet, my chair scraping against the floor. She mouthed something I couldn't hear, then tapped the glass with her fingertip. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911 without even thinking. When I looked back, she was gone. The police came, took a statement, and drove around the neighborhood, but they didn't find her. They told me if she came back, I should call immediately, and they suggested I stop communicating with her entirely. The next morning, I woke to a text. "Claire, I'm sorry I scared you. I just needed to see you one more time." One more time. The words made my skin crawl. I didn't respond. I didn't want to give her anything. No anger, no attention, nothing she could use to pull me back in. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Because people like Claire, they don't just let go. After the night she appeared at my window, I lived in a constant state of half alert. Every creak in the house sounded like footsteps. Every shadow outside my blinds looked like a figure watching. I stopped going out alone. I walked to school with friends, took different routes home, and kept my phone in my hand like a lifeline. But no matter what I did, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still there, close enough to see me, even if I couldn't see her. Weeks passed without another sighting. Part of me hoped she'd finally moved on. Then, one late afternoon in August, my phone buzzed with an email, not a text, from her. Subject: read this before you decide you hate me forever. Against my better judgment, I opened it. It wasn't an apology, not really. It was a long, rambling letter about Emily, how they'd been inseparable, how they used to draw together on the porch every summer, how Claire had promised she'd always protect her little sister. And then came the accident, how Claire had been the one driving, how she'd been distracted by a text when she swerved into the other lane. She wrote about the guilt that had hollowed her out, how she'd avoided everyone from her old life, how she joined random online communities just to feel connected to someone. And then she wrote about me. When I saw your picture, it was like the universe gave me back the one thing I'd lost. You smiled like she did. You held your pencil the same way. You even laughed the same. I thought maybe this was my second chance to get it right. I read it twice, my hands trembling. The weight of her grief was obvious, but it didn't make what she'd done okay. She'd built our entire friendship on a lie, all because she saw me as a replacement for someone she could never bring back. I started typing a reply, something short and final. I'm not Emily. I can't be her. Leave me alone. But before I could hit send, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call from an unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but some instinct made me swipe to answer. Hello? Silence. Then, her voice. I'm outside. My chest tightened. Claire, what? I just want to talk. Please. No lies. No pretending. Just me and you. No, I said firmly. You need to go. Now, I can't, she whispered. Because if I walk away this time, it's over. And I don't think I can survive losing you too. That was it for me. The part of me that used to feel sorry for her was gone. She wasn't just sad, she was dangerous, and I couldn't keep giving her the chance to step further into my life. I'm calling the police, I said, and hung up. I didn't even check to see if she was telling the truth about being outside. I just dialed 911 and explained everything, how she'd lied about her identity, shown up at my house, and now claimed she was here again. This time, they took it seriously. 2 officers came to my house, searched the area, and actually found her car parked down the street. She was sitting in the driver's seat, hands gripping the wheel like she'd been frozen there. They made her get out, talked to her quietly for a while, and eventually drove her away. One officer came back to tell me they'd issued a formal warning. If she contacted me again, it could turn into a restraining order. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. But that night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling and thought about all the messages, all the late night talks, all the moments I'd felt understood. They were real to me, but to her, they'd been part of a fantasy she was building, one where I wasn't me at all. A week later, a final envelope came in the mail. My name on the front. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded once. It read, I'm sorry I couldn't be the friend you wanted. But for a little while, you were the sister I needed. Goodbye, Sunbeam. There was no signature, but I didn't need one. I sat there holding the note, feeling this strange mix of relief and grief. Relief that it was over, that she wouldn't be in my life anymore. Grief for the friendship I thought I had, one that, even though it was built on lies, had felt real in the moments we shared. I kept the note for a while, tucked in the back of my sketchbook. I told myself it was for closure, but maybe part of me just couldn't throw away the last piece of what we'd been. Eventually, though, I did. Because I wasn't Emily. I wasn't her Sunbeam. And I wasn't going to be someone's second chance at a life they lost. I was me. And that had to be enough.